He wants to jump
1,000 cars.
Sir, you have 1,000 cars.
I don't think I'd attempt to try this stunt.
Or we owe this horsepower to Uncle Sam. Too many cars.
Roses would be
Like I put my beer belly on it.
You can't immediately tell somebody how many cars you have.
You'll really give those uppity yuppies something to think about.
Stay on the bar. Don't go off the bar with your Bronco.
1980 Volvo horns, what's right?
I want to have a man's coolant.
And he's like, oh, I thought it'd be small. It's for a small car. And I'm like, yeah, but it's still an automatic transmission. They're never going to be light.
It's definitely going to have to crash.
Starting off with Brad buying another car.
That's the West.
Internet.
You know, is this a Nigerian oil print?
I also wish you drove a Tan Camry.
Anyways,
Anyway,
that's a
horrible,
very
horrible podcast content.
Very
Talking about a picture.
inside joke. Welcome to Auto Off Topic. Hey, we've got our regular Brad and our extra Brad tonight.
Extra Brad, reporting for duty.
2 Brads, 1 Andrew, no waiting.
That's right. So, NASCAR, huh? It's the end of the season, last race?
Yeah, it's over. Yeah, Phoenix was today. I sat down to watch the race, and I was like, I'm not very smart because this racetrack is 30 minutes away from me. And I was
going to ask why you weren't there.
Yeah, it just, we'll touch on later. I just got back from SEMA, so I'm a little, I can't say I'm jet lagged because it's the same time zone. Well, it's not the same time zone, but it was last week. It's not this week. That's also a confusing topic. Last week, Las Vegas was same time zone as us. So I'm a little tired and didn't think about it. And Naomi actually asked me, she said, how much are tickets to an event like this? I was like, I don't know, $50, $100. And she looked it up. She's like, they start at $16. And I was like, yeah, I probably should.
Yeah. I mean, it's even closer than when you lived here to NHMS. It was like an hour and a half.
Well, NHMS was also, an hour and a half to 2 hours. Plus the traffic was always a nightmare. Where this track is, because it's outside Phoenix, there's plenty of roads in
Tons
and out.
Of roads to it.
I don't think traffic would even be bad. So I probably should have gone. It's it's the championship race. B, it's 30 minutes from my house. Like, it's like 37 miles away. Like, what a dummy. But so I'll reconsider all this for next year. So maybe next year, Andrew, you'll have to come out for the championship race. We'll have to do a thing here with the race together. So
are they always going to do it at Phoenix?
They've done it the past 3 years in Phoenix.
Oh,
so it seems to be I don't know how they chose Phoenix other than the weather's always nice as late in the year. I think it's probably part of it. It's not super hot.
Probably has a lot to do with it.
Yeah. It's not super hot here. Actually, it was 25 degrees colder here today than it is in Massachusetts, just to get the full, weather off topic podcast going. So you guys are currently in a heat wave in November 6th or something. And it was 80 degrees. And it was like, this morning it was like 55 degrees here. I think it hit 60. It's 60 something today, but it was not hot. What did that way?
Yeah, it was 75 here in Cleveland, and that is not to be expected.
Yeah, I just checked. We hit 70 today. That was our high. So it's colder here than on the East Coast. So I'm moving back. I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
Ask me again in January.
Yeah, well, for sure. But anyway, so I think that's why it's out here. But anyway, so it's the final race of the season. They do 2 races there every year. Phoenix is kind of a wild track because there's no out of bounds. So
what's up with that?
Every restart just has like 5-6 cars wide into turn 1 and 2, and I just don't. I mean, it's cool. It's unique to Phoenix. There's no curbs. There's no boundary lines, and I don't know who decided that, but at some point somebody decided that, and it makes for an interesting restart every time.
I love how they're like, the wall ride. You can't do that. You shouldn't be able to do that. But yet this track has no rules other than the walls.
Well, and you couldn't do a wall ride at this track.
That's how it used to be.
Yeah, you couldn't do a wall ride at this track. They were talking about that actually because, Ross Chastain saw himself in the same kind of situation he was last week where he needed to make up, a couple of seconds with a lap to go. But the way the walls are designed here, the straightaway going into turn 3 and 4 actually kind of juts to the right a little bit. So if he had done that, it would have guaranteed he crashed.
It would have been
not-
hilarious if he did it and won the championship that way.
Yeah, it would have been hilarious, yes. However, the NASCAR conspiracy theorists would never have let that one slide. They would have been like, hey guys, what's happening here? So, but spoiler alert.
That would be almost as controversial as the F1 championship last year.
Yeah, which I don't know anything about, as we've established already on this podcast, that we don't know what happens there. Also, I'm super annoyed at F1 because they did a big thing in Las Vegas today or yesterday, one day after all the car people left, where they ran F1 cars up and down the strip. And I was like, why would you do that the day after SEMA when all the people who care about it are gone? Like, I don't really like F1, but I would love to have seen the F1 cars rip up and down the strip. That would have been awesome.
There are car events the weekend after SEMA throughout Vegas.
Oh, really?
So like the Las Vegas Concours was on Sunday.
That was before
like
Vegas. That was the week before SEMA, the Concours.
It was?
Yep.
I'm pretty sure it was the week after because we got invited.
The week after is right now. Today is the week after.
Right.
It was last weekend.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
it definitely was. I already saw articles about it last week, so I know it already happened.
Okay. All right. I'm wrong.
And we discussed how if we'd known that earlier, we would have gone to that instead. At Championship NASCAR. So, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched it, I don't know, mute us for the next minute or two, if you haven't already anyway. Joey Logano won the championship. Second time he's won it. He won it in 2018. I'm not mad about it. The weird thing about NASCAR now is that the way the point system works, at the final race, there's only 4 cars that can even win the championship. Like any sports, I guess. Any sports comes down to the last game. So this, much like any other sport, comes down to the last race. You get the 4 teams that can win the race. One of them was obviously Joey Logano. Joey Logano won the race. The cool fact about that is he's the first driver to have won a championship twice in a Ford since David Pearson in 1968.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
That's weird. Ford's been there the whole time. How did nobody ever do a 2-time win with Ford before? I don't understand, but it was a cool end of the season. There was definitely some last couple of laps. There were a couple of drivers who still could have taken it, and it wound up going to Logano. So it wasn't boring. It was a good race, and I'm a little bummed that our boy Chase Elliott didn't do it. But it is what it is. He had a racing incident with Chastain earlier, and I don't think either of them are to blame. After watching the replay a few times, it seems like it was just they both went for the same spot at the same time, and I think if anything, Elliott has a little more blame himself because he came down on top of a car that was below him. So I don't know. But anyway, so Joey Logano won the championship. It's a good race. If you haven't watched it, I'd say still maybe watch it on fast forward. If you're a NASCAR fan, kind of skip to some of the highlights. That was a pretty clean race. Not a lot of yellows. But it was a good finish. And again, I'm not upset Logano won. I don't hate him. So.
End of stage 2, there are a bunch of cars that might have run out of gas because they didn't have enough cautions.
Yep. Yeah, the cars
like a lot of guys are coasting.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good race.
Yeah, I'm Team Trackhouse. I was a little.
Yeah, I mean,
maybe
we were hoping for Chastain.
Maybe he
cool
could have
finish, but it didn't happen. Trackhouse, the team, the drivers, Chastain, they were nobodies last year. So they finished second in the championship this year. And I mean, that's a hell of an entry into the big show, I mean, I don't think he was a rookie driver, but he's fairly new. And to be second place is nobody would have put him there. Let's put it that way.
Well, I don't know if you heard it. The announcers had some sort of factoid. He was driving he would drive a motorhome for people to the track and then race.
Just to get involved with racing. He drove the motor coach like 5 years ago or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or 5 or 6 years
that's
ago.
Cool.
And his spotter did too. That's how they know each other. They're both motor coach drivers for NASCAR drivers. So yeah, cool. But anyway, moving on from NASCAR. What else we got to talk about today, Andrew, before we get into Brad's story of...
Well, yeah, because there's some related Vegas stuff we can talk about. But we've been talking about my Volkswagen, the new car that's not supposed to have any problems for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just do regular maintenance too, and I drive it every day and don't touch it. And, just leaves time for me to work on my other cars. Well, it had a cylinder 3 misfire code. And then finally I went back again to the dealer and they're like, well, it needs a carbon blast. I'm like, really? At 30K? Like, yeah. I'm like, okay. They're like, that's not under warranty. I'm like, okay, great. And he's like, the service writer's like, normally it's like 1,500. I'm like, he's like, but we'll do it for 700.
It seems to me like 700 to 800 is the price I hear that it normally is. So it sounds like the service writer is giving you one of those lines where they want to make you feel good about spending $700 and make you feel like it's a discount, because I've heard that it's $700 to $800 to have it done.
So I called the local independent that's down the street that I like to have to do the maintenance, and they said it was around the same price.
Okay, maybe it's gone up in
But-
the past few years.
But
so.
they were also like, 30K
Price of
seems really
walnuts have
early.
gone up. Yeah.
There's definitely two camps here. They're like, no, you only need to do these cars at 60K. And there's other people that are like, no, 30K is not that unusual at all for them to be carboned up. And I'm like, that's really weird, because I also changed the oil 5,000 miles earlier than the interval says, so that you don't get oil filled with carbon that's blowing by into the intake. But
Maybe that's the problem.
I don't know.
Maybe
I
the
do a lot of
oil-
idling in traffic.
Maybe the
And-
oil gets more magnetic to the carbon as it gets more carbon in it. It's like a rolling snowball, and you take it out of
guess.
there, it's harder to catch it. That's a wild statement that I have no fact behind.
And maybe, I mean, it was doing it a little bit before I drove cross country, and then maybe, 12 hours at a time at a constant RPM was not great.
I don't know.
Who knows?
It just
I don't know.
sounds-
I don't understand. It's really
I mean,
weird.
this feels like a thing that shouldn't happen.
No.
Like
And if it
that was a problem 10 years ago. It
Yeah.
shouldn't be a problem now. But
And if it had a check engine light on when I needed to go get an inspection sticker here in the state of Massachusetts, it would fail for emissions.
Right.
So to tell me that's not covered under emissions is really frustrating. That's not under warranty.
Yeah, I would think it would still be covered, especially with the mileage on it. But hey, what do I know? I don't write the rules.
And then, that's the other thing, because from working in dealerships, I know that their internal cost for that service was not $700. They didn't actually split it evenly with me.
Right.
I paid the customer price, half of the customer price, and they paid whatever their internal price is, probably $200.
Sure.
And then to add insult to injury, I get the car back, and I'm looking at it, and the front bumper has a huge scratch on it. And
It's
the
not a
plates-
scratch.
and the-
It's not a scratch. They smashed something into your car, or smashed your
clearly-
car into something.
No, it's clearly the you can see where the two legs from the cart that maybe the walnut machine was on
Okay.
was pushed in the front bumper. It's
Okay,
not
maybe
from
that's what
another
it is.
vehicle.
Yeah. Okay. The pictures
I'm
look like a
definitely-
smashed bumper.
No, a car didn't. And when I called them back, they think it's like I'm complaining that a car hit it. I'm like, no, it's definitely if we went out to the shop and got the cart that the tech was using, it would probably line up exactly with the marks in the bumper. Like, he was just being careless and like leaned the cart into the car, which I don't understand either, because if you're doing the service all the time, you should know that, or like put foam on the legs or something.
Yeah. So what do they say about fixing it?
I have to hear back from the service writer on Monday, because also the service manager, I wanted to talk to the service manager. Like, I need to talk to the manager. This was Saturday. Is on vacation this coming week. So
Oh, good.
I'm not super happy with them, and
We're
I
not
don't know.
ready
I
to
don't
name
even really
drop
want
yet.
them. No, it's Kelly Volkswagen. in
Oh, okay, we got already name drop.
Danvers.
Okay.
It's terrible.
Yeah, I actually never used them even when I lived there with my Volkswagen. I went to a different Volkswagen dealer, so
They're pretty new as a Volkswagen dealer. They took over for Beverly Volkswagen, North Shore Volkswagen, which was also pretty shady.
yeah. Well, their building burned down under mysterious circumstances. So.
Yeah. So needless to say, I'm not very happy with that, and I don't even. I could probably buff it out. It'd probably be all right, but I don't want them to like paint or anything, because I just feel like it's going to be worse. Like, it'll
didn't
somehow
look-
be worse.
It didn't look like it'd be buffed out.
After I washed the car, it's not as bad. It's
Right.
the plastic underneath. The silver piece is gouged. The paint is scratched.
The lighting in the pictures you sent me made the thing look like it got driven into by another car. So it
No,
looked really
it's definitely
bad.
a cart.
Okay.
I'll take another one where you can see both, and you can see how they line up vertically.
Even. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they take care of it, and if they do want to fix it and it does require paint, do not use their dealership. Put an insurance claim in and put it back towards them. Is how I would do it at that point, because then you can use a body shop that we trust and not Kelly's body shop, which I don't trust.
No, because they'll just paint it with the bumper on it, and it'll be all orange peely, and it'll be overspraying my headlights or something stupid.
They'll probably take the bumper off. It actually is easier for them to take the bumper off to fix it than it is to do it on the car, but I wouldn't use their body shop.
They'll find a way not to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's that's
annoyed for you.
It's just annoyed because I think we'll get to your stuff, but you had a similar thing with another shop. Just trying to get shops to do stuff. I'm not even asking for discounted prices.
Right.
I'll pay you the full price that you want, but just please do exactly what I asked you to do.
Yeah, and do it carefully.
Yeah.
This is why I went to the shops I go to, because I trust them at that point.
Yeah, so. I'm not looking for the buddy price. I'm walking in, I'm paying you for the full price.
Yeah.
This is like what happened redoing my kitchen. All the work I did is fine. The thing I paid for, the tile floor, is warped and like moving. It's like, it's so annoying.
Project cars,
house issues.
houses.
I mean, getting a contractor to do anything on a house these days is just impossible.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, but
I know I don't ask people for discounts. I don't haggle with the price either. I'll shop around and I'll get estimates, but I'll agree with you on a price, and then I'll pay you. I have money. I'll pay you. That's the exchange.
Yes.
So anyway,
$20 can buy many peanuts.
Yeah.
Apparently, it's $700 is the cost right now for walnuts. So I don't want to.
That's right. That's right.
Should have told them I have a nut allergy and can't do that to the car.
You say that as a joke, Andrew, but there's somebody who's gone in there and has heard that it's a walnut blast. And I'm like, you can't put walnuts in my car. They'll come through my vents, and then my child will get sick. So it's.
I mean, the engine bay was pretty dirty. I cleaned it too.
After they finished,
but that could have been from driving across country. It was dusty.
All right, we'll let that one slide.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. So I had them change the oil the last time it was there. They washed it. I picked it up the other day after spending $700. They hadn't even washed it.
Oh, nice. Well, it's better than
that was the discount that they cut you. They took the $700 car wash off.
You remember my Volkswagen issues about 2 years ago when I get it back with like beige interior covered in black grease every time. So yeah, it's the same no matter where you are. They're all terrible.
Well, that's the thing. I show up with a clean, nice car. You think I'm not going to notice?
Yep.
It's not like I showed up this car with like filled with trash and dings all over it.
Volkswagen makes an excellent product, but their dealer network is lacking for sure.
This is every car dealership. Yeah. This is why I don't work in them anymore.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Anyway, Brad, you did Brad DeSantis. You went to SEMA. So how was that?
I did. So for anybody who's never been to SEMA, Brad, I think you've probably been before.
I've been, I think, 5 times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Andrew, I know you have not been yet. I know that
I have not.
From the outside, SEMA seems like this like holy grail of events that you have to, do your bidding to get into, and it's really hard to be there, and you have to be an industry professional and this whole thing. I can tell you that now that I've been there, you just need to be a human. Actually, no, because there were also dogs there, so you don't need to be a human. You're a human or a dog, and you're allowed in. And some of the trashiest people I've ever seen at a car event attend the SEMA event. And I don't know how they get in there. I don't know how. I don't know what their professional setting is or how they're quote-unquote in industry. But one particular individual was quite annoying to me, and he was walking around wearing pajama pants and a Peanuts Christmas shirt. So I'm not trying to be judgmental.
He's probably a millionaire.
No, absolutely not.
Probably.
Definitely not. I can guarantee he's not.
It's literally, if you know somebody who has a car dealership or a body shop or you guys have a podcast. You guys could be there as media, 100%.
Yep.
You don't even have to pay. You would get in for free.
I've learned this now. Yes. So the fact that we've never been is insane. Again, it's always presented as you need to have this, panache to get in there, but you really don't. I will say, if you're going to go, it does pay to be media because you do get in obviously for free, which is nice. Not that it's expensive; it's like a $50 ticket for the week, but you do get in for free, and also you get to get in a half hour to an hour earlier than the general public.
Yes.
So you do have that time in the morning where there's nobody around in order to shoot
For photos.
Yeah, I don't know what the numbers were as far as people this year. I know the last big SEMA year, obviously pre-pandemic in 2019, there were 160,000 attendees. And of those,
I was there. It was bonkers.
I bet. And of those 160,000, only 3,000 were media. So you do have a significant smaller presence in the morning during the media times. They also feed the media breakfast on the first day. We had it was kind of interesting. I'm going to say it like it's fancy, but it's not fancy because I was still 100 feet away. But we had breakfast with Ken Block and Brian Scotto while watching the latest Gymkhana video, which was kind of cool. But again, it's not like we were like sitting at a table with them. It was me and 3,000 of my closest friends hanging out in a room with pastries that I can't even eat. So it was fine. But it was still
I had
a
dinner with
neat
him
opening.
once.
Oh, did you? Interesting.
Yeah, I was an intern for Rally America.
Okay.
When they were like at the height of the Subaru days. This was
Right.
2012,
6
or
even
7.
earlier. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely the
I was in college, so maybe it was like 08, 09, because I think I was either a junior or a senior.
Yeah, regardless.
But anyway, it was at LSPR in northern Michigan, middle of friggin' nowhere.
Yep.
And it was the post awards banquet or whatever. So he and Alex Gelsomino and Travis and I think Chrissy Beavis was co-driver then.
Yeah.
They all sat at the same table as the staff, so
Right.
I was there. It was kind of cool.
Actually,
Nice guy.
I've always heard that. So
Yeah,
that's how
I've met him
that's
a
how they
couple
opened.
times at rallies.
That's how they opened the event, which was kind of cool, and it was neat to kind of. So you watched it with him and Brian Scotto, and then there was a little Q&A with. I think it's the guy who announces the FD events, the drifting events. I don't remember his name, but I think that's who the guy was. Just kind of like a little Q&A with them in there to kick off, SEMA week, which was kind of neat. And then you get into the halls and you're on your own, just kind of figuring out what's what and where's where and, how to find things. And they do have an app that you can put in your phone that shows you where things are, which is kind of neat. It worked fairly well. Obviously, most things are stagnant displays. There is an autocross course out back where they're doing an active Optima batteries fastest streetcar challenge, which is mostly old muscle cars converted into autocross cars. In that same area, they did a little demonstration with some of I think they were the Rockstar Energy drivers and drifters, and they had some guys drifting, and there were quads jumping over them when they're drifting, and some of that stuff is out back. The sheer amount of lifted pickup trucks is what I think blew my mind more than anything else. I don't understand them. I don't know that I ever will. They're certainly not my style or any of your style or likely any of our listeners' style, because they're all the over-the-top, full chromed undercarriage, powder-coated pink and purple and blue and green, just ridiculous train horns and 12-inch exhaust tips. So I don't get that whole scene. There's lots of hot rods and muscle cars, and there are a lot of cars that get unveiled. This is another thing I don't understand. If you are a manufacturer and you're bringing out a brand new car and you want to do an unveiling where you roll the car out under a cover and you say, at 12 noon today, we're going to unveil the new XYZ supercar, that's cool. If you are just a dude who's on YouTube and build a new drift car, why do you deserve to have an unveiling of your drift car? And why do people care? I don't understand that.
I will say this. I have been diligently watching the Stanceworks build of the Honda-powered Ferrari.
Yes.
I've been watching it every week.
Okay,
He did the final unveil of the car at SEMA.
sure.
A lot of effort and a lot of work has gone into that, and it's a big story and whatever. Every one of those has a following. It may not be us,
Okay.
but it's kind of along the same lines. So maybe there's somebody, maybe there's, I don't know,
So I didn't know he did a big unveil.
Cletus or whatever.
I'll tell you exactly who it was in a second. I know
Okay.
that Mike Burrows' car was there. Actually,
Mhm.
I met Mike Burrows. Super nice guy.
Very nice guy.
What I didn't know was he did a cover off display. But that being said, he built a hell of a car. He stripped that
Mhm.
thing down to as bare as you can and rebuilt it from the ground up. He re-engineered the car into a brand new car. He has had a huge following that's been watching him build this car. The one that really confused me was a YouTuber by the name of TJ Hunt.
Mhm.
I don't know much about him. I know that he, I think, came from money, and
He's got a huge following,
but
like
so
millions.
Toyota or Subaru, excuse me, Subaru and Nissan gave him 2 brand new cars,
Mhm.
and all he did was lower them and put a body kit on them, and then he had a huge reveal that hundreds of people stood around watching. And
Sure.
I don't understand what the appeal of that is, because it's literally a fiberglass body kit on a brand new car, and it's not even like,
You know how
here's the other thing.
You
though.
know how just a few minutes ago you said that you didn't know how crazy it was that like anyone and their brother could be at the show?
Yeah,
Anyone and their brother can build a build.
sure.
There's nothing at SEMA that stops them from doing an unveiling, or it's their booth. They can do whatever they want.
It wasn't
with So,
his
like,
booth. It was at Magnaflow's booth. He didn't have
Okay,
his own
well,
booth.
whatever.
So I guess at that
Sure.
point it's follow the money, right?
It's
So I
Yeah,
don't know.
exactly.
It was weird to me because not only did he just build these 2 cars that he, I guess, owns the company that makes the body kit, but there were
Mhm.
other cars in SEMA that had the same body kit that had just been on display all week. So it
Oh,
wasn't
that's
like he
funny.
was debuting the first of this time anybody sees his body kit that you can now buy. Like there was literally one parked out front, outside the doors, that people without passes could see, like on the main
So-
drag out front. So it was weird to me. I don't know what
Magnaflow wants the attention of his YouTube channel.
100%.
He live streams the thing on his YouTube channel. Magnaflow's in the background. That's why.
So
It's 100% just follow
Let-
whoever is doing it. And
let me
you'll know exactly
rephrase.
why.
Let me rephrase my statement then. I understand why they do it, because money is green and we all like money. What I don't understand is why everybody cares. That's what I don't understand. And maybe it's because I'm not the audience.
Totally. Why do millions of people watch Doug DeMuro videos every week?
I
I
watched
like
a couple,
Doug. He's a
and-
nice guy.
yeah.
I can't watch his videos.
Sure.
I just can't.
And to that note,
And totally, like, more power to you. If you like them, that's your thing. I'm fine with that. I'm not knocking you. It's not my thing. I don't watch it. I don't watch
I
TJ
guess.
Hunt videos. I don't watch
Yeah.
Cletus McFarlane videos. There's
I can
all
tell
kinds
you-
of pockets of car culture that,
There's 50s of people that listen to Auto Off Topic. So
yeah, who knows why? But you know
dozens
what?
every week.
We've never done an unveiling or made them wait for something. Actually, that's not true. We make them wait for everything that we say we're going to do, and we never do. So I guess we do make them wait for things.
just stringing them along.
Just string them along, exactly. So
Just
anyway,
a Ponzi scheme of a podcast.
maybe ultimately it's not for me, and that's what it is. It seemed confusing to me that it wasn't anything special. It was these body kits that had already been on display on other cars around the hall all week. I don't know why I had to wait till Tuesday to see his, because his was blue versus the green one out front, or the gray one next to that. Like it seemed odd to me. And I guess you're probably correct. It's follow the money. He generates the clicks. 50 million followers is probably lots of clickbait money.
Mm-hmm.
I also don't understand why other YouTubers that aren't even car people, like who's the super douchebag boxer guy now? Jake Paul or Logan Paul, I don't know, whichever one is the crazier one, was walking around SEMA with an entourage the entire time, and people just following, trying to get pictures next to him. And I'm like, he's just this I don't know. I don't get it. Celebrity culture never meant much to me, I guess, is what it is. But it was
Totally.
weird. That being
with you.
said, I did have two. I've never had like a fanboy moment where I kind of like,
Yeah.
you know, like, oh my God, here you go. I did get to the top of the broken escalator that I had to walk up the stairs, and it was like good, solid flight of stairs.
Escalators
got
can never be broken. They just become stairs.
Escalator temporarily stairs. Sorry for the convenience. R.I.P. Mitch Hedberg. I got to the top of the escalator that was temporarily broken, and sitting on a bench, winded, obviously, from climbing the same set of stairs that I just did, was none other than 5 feet in front of me, Richard Petty.
Oh,
And
nice.
I have
that's kinda
never,
cool.
yeah, I've never like fanboyed more. And he had his whole like people around him trying to like give him water and like because he's 100 years old
Was
now.
it-
Yeah, he's old. He's
Yeah.
Was it really Richard Petty, or was it an old guy in a hat?
No, this was 100%.
Because that's pretty much all Richard Petty is these
This
days.
was 100% Richard Petty. He was just sitting there in his chair trying to like catch his breath, I think, after climbing these stairs. So I didn't.
That's cool.
I was like one of those moments like I want to say hi to this man. I want to say hi, and I couldn't do it, and I felt like a jerk afterwards. But I would have felt like more of a jerk.
like,
if
my
I had.
king, my king.
Yeah, exactly. So I did have a fanboy moment that I've never actually had in real life. So that was neat. I met Gene Winfield. It's kind of cool. He's also 100 years old now. So, but anyway, it was a hell of an experience. There's a lot of really nice cars there. There's a lot of cars that you know that are very popular to the same crowd that wanted to see TJ Hunt's cars, YouTube builds, that in person are real bad.
Mhm.
Real bad. Like you see them on TV and I know of their existence even though I don't watch their YouTube videos, and it's like, wow, that's quite the fabricating skill on that car. And then you go see the car in person and you're like, that guy should never touch a welder or Bondo ever again because those cars are really bad. I don't think I'll call them up by name, but you can figure out if you know who I'm talking about, who built a mid-engine Mustang this year. And it was very bad. The fit and finish was atrocious. You know, the trunk lid had a 3/4 inch gap at the top and it touched the quarter panel at the bottom and just stuff like that, you know, sanding marks, and you could see where the metal and the fiberglass flares meet the steel actual body of the Mustang, and it's not like on purpose. It's supposed to, I don't know, it's not the quality of car you expect to see at a high level car show unveiled the same way in the Holly performance booth. You know, you don't expect a car that looks like it was built by an amateur at that point. Like, listen, it's more than I've ever built, of course. I'm not saying that, but I think if I put any effort into it, I wouldn't have shown it in the same condition it was shown. We'll put it that way. So it was definitely a sketchy thing, and we could talk about some more of that off air, guys. But there were some of those cars that are really bad, and of course you have the cars you've never seen in real life that you have only seen in magazines, like a Ring Brothers build that is unreal level. Like, I don't particularly like their style, but there is no getting past, you know, the cleanliness and the sanitariness of their builds and the amount of effort and time.
Ring Brothers reminds me of like Rad Rides by Troy.
It's the
like
same
they're
design
totally
style, yeah.
Yeah, they're totally not my style, but you can tell like the details went into that thing.
Oh, for sure. They had like 5 cars there, and they were all pretty amazing.
Who,
And actually, I'd never seen a Kindig car in person either, and Kindig cars also are not my style, but they're also very well put together. They're super
I'm
clean
blanking
cars.
right now. Who does the derelicts?
So that's Icon.
Did you see were any of those there?
There were no Icons there. I've seen Icons before, but there
Yeah.
were none that were there. There's a Icon. There's one of the electric ones local that's been to a couple of our events out here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, the Mercury 50 Mercury electric powered 50
Oh,
Mercury.
I saw that one in the Optima Batteries booth at SEMA a few years ago.
So I don't know if the car is permanently in Scottsdale, but it's been at events in Scottsdale in the past. So I've seen
That's
that
cool.
one. I've seen that one in person, and I've seen some of his FJ builds in person
Yeah,
before.
because
And actually, there's
supposedly
a
those are
Bronco.
amazing, right?
There's a Bronco in
They are
Scottsdale as well.
amazing.
It's an Icon Bronco. So they're very well put together. And that's what I'm saying. It's like not these guys that I guess that's the difference between a YouTuber and a guy who's got a show on the Motor Trend Network, maybe. And I guess I can't say that either because not every show at Motor Trend makes good cars either. But some of these cars that are picked up by the cable TV channels, they have much more money and time behind them, where YouTube is literally, I could build a car and put it on YouTube, and I probably should, because I do work on cars all goddamn week and don't put anything on the internet and should make money with it. But anyway, they can do it and whatever they want, and all they do is get their following of people that haven't seen their car in person, have only seen their car being built online, and you can hide a lot of sins online. So it's a little eye-opening to see some of the stuff and be like, I could just do this. Like we Andrew, we could make videos and make a lot of money, and we just need to say smash that like button a couple of times, and next thing you know, we're millionaires. It's
quite the hustle, though.
That's it. That's all it takes.
Listen, I'm willing to do the hustle for millions of dollars. I'll tell you that right now. But yeah, it was definitely an eye-opening experience. It was a side of car culture I've not seen before, which is hard to say sometimes, being as, you know, I think the three of us, without trying to be braggadocious, are all probably pretty jaded when it comes to car culture, because we've been to a lot of things. You know, we've all traveled the country and seen every event that there is to see. We've been to Concours, we've been to Radwoods, we've been to every museum that we can think of. We've been to racing events. We've been to different high-end shops, and seeing all of it kind of in one place is certainly eye-opening from a first-timer's experience. I'm sure after 5 or 6 times go to SEMA, you're like, cool. Like, I don't care.
Totally.
It is what it is.
Totally. I mean, I never try to get that jaded. Like, I always try to find the fun in it. But certainly after the second time, it's work.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of a slog. You've got to just, you're walking miles everit's
there was one day I logged 13 miles on my watch. Yeah, it's a lot of walking. Yeah, 26,000
It's a big, I mean, SEMA's huge.
It's
4 halls.
I looked at the fact there are 5 halls now.
Oh,
they opened up
okay.
a 5th hall this year. It's 1.2 million square foot of indoor display space, and another 1 million square feet outside.
Whoa.
Yeah, so it's a lot of area to cover, and it takes up multiple city blocks in Vegas, the convention center does. It was actually kind of neat, because having gone to Radwood in Vegas, I immediately recognized the parking lot where the Hoonigan area was doing their thing as the parking lot that the Radwood event was in, under the monorail. So that was kind of cool. But that's another thing. I had never seen a live Hoonigan event before. I've been to the Hoonigan Garage a few times. I met a bunch of the guys before, but I've never seen a actual, burn yard event. I think is what they call it. And the amount of destruction that they convince people to do to their personal cars is absurd. For
YouTube fame. And 30 seconds of YouTube fame.
Yeah, for nothing. They closed. Yeah. So we went to the last show on Thursday night, which they billed as like, this is going to be our, there is one more show tomorrow, but this is really the show. And they ended it down. They ended the show with 5 guys in the burnout pit, which is not a very big burnout pit, swinging their trucks around doing donuts. 5 Silverados, all huge dollar builds with really nice paint jobs, and one of them had like 28-inch wheels, and it was all tucked up inside, so there was more bodywork inside. And they just all ran them until they caught on fire, or quarter panels blew off, and tires blew off, and wheels blew apart. And I was like, I just watched $150,000 in destruction in 30 seconds, and for what?
Yep.
It didn't make any sense. So, I guess
it does for the views.
But the views go to Hoonigan. They don't even go to the guy who's built the car.
I know.
100%.
Crazy, right?
Hoonigan's making money off of these blue-collar guys destroying their cars in their parking lot. And that is insane to me. Listen, I'm here for it. I watched it. It was fun. No question. I probably got some kind of disease from all the tire smoke I inhaled, but hey, life goes on, right?
Working at that shop has to be like, they're all going to get black lung or something just from the amount of
tire smoke
donuts and stuff that they do. Yeah.
Absolutely insane. But it was a hell of a show. We'll put it that way. So, it was a good time. I would like to do it again. I'd like to do it when I'm not on the clock, because I was hustling all week doing work. So that took a little bit of the fun out of it. And you're in Vegas. There's a lot of good restaurants you want to try and stuff, but after your whole work day, you don't want to go out. You just want to go to your hotel room. And I still had like actual other work to do too. So it definitely took away from some of the fun of it. I don't like Vegas in general, but I know there's good food there. So I'd like to eat some of the good food. I wanted to eat one night with some other friends that were in town. We got, a Brazilian steakhouse where they shave all the steak in your plate until you tell them to stop because you're going to explode. So that was a good time. But yeah, overall, it's an experience, and I've needed this entire weekend to recover from it. I'll put it that way. So it definitely beat me up pretty good. So enjoyable, but tiring. So I'd encourage you to go if you can go. It's not as hard as you think. It's not special.
No.
Almost anybody can go.
No, it's not.
Almost anybody can go. Find a way to get a blog published somewhere, even self-publish it, and put down a couple YouTube videos, and you punched yourself a media ticket to SEMA. So that's about it.
So speaking of Vegas, I don't think because we didn't record last week, we didn't talk about was it called Electricana?
Yes.
Is that what they called it?
Electricana.
Yeah, Electricana.
The new Gymkhana video?
Yep.
Which was
It
in
had
Vegas.
its moments. It had its moments.
Cool.
It was pretty cool.
I don't know what hotel he was doing the donuts in the foyer of, but that was pretty intense. It was a very small space with all glass doors on the carpet, and it looked pretty good. The highlight of that whole video to me, though, was all of the vintage Audis parked around. So
yeah,
I was taken aback that they didn't use any of them. Like, none of them did anything. They just sat.
I feel like none of them have been driven in anger in a very long time, and they were probably afraid.
No, that's true, but like
doing that,
it's Audi.
Yeah,
and it they spent multiple millions of dollars on this video. They could have got them running again.
Yeah, I don't know, but it's cool to see them just sitting there, especially the Hans Stuck car. Like, I was really hoping it was still going to be in Vegas on display at SEMA, or the Electricana car was. The only Audi that was there was Ken Block's personal Sport Quattro, which is super cool, obviously. But
it's like the only thing I would have done differently is if they had lined up the electric car next to one of the vintage cars and just done like a drag race to kick off a video or something.
That'd be cool.
Yep.
Just to show the acceleration power of the electric.
Yeah, that would be cool.
The backwards entry that he did, that was like the coolest shot that they've done in any. That was so cool.
And the speed with that thing does donuts is insane.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that he was talking about in like the little breakfast speech he did. He was talking about how fast the donuts were. He was saying that in the gas cars, the wheel speed, the donut is done at like 60 miles an hour. And it was done at like 90 in the electric car. He's like, it was disorientating.
Yeah, you can see it shows the speedometer on the dash, and there were points where it was over 100.
Was that
like,
high?
The wheels are turned. Yeah, I mean they were just like burning.
Yeah,
the wheel speed was much higher in that car. So it's definitely.
And I like the way hotted up electric cars sound, because they just sound like crazy RC cars.
Yep, I'm into it. They're definitely fun, for sure.
So that video was really cool, and then kind of quietly, Red Bull released a video of Scott Speed riding the Dragon in a the
rallycross car.
I think it was a rallycross build of the Subaru.
Yeah, that was also really cool.
Yeah, which is a Vermont sports car. That was awesome, and they did, and it was funny because it's you don't really see it in the video, but I went on Facebook when it came out, and I followed Killboy.com, which is one of the photographers for the Tail of the Dragon. They kind of worked with Red Bull. They helped put it together, which was really cool. And they either did it last winter or it must have been last winter, because it's like the trees are mostly without leaves.
The winter. Yeah, it was very late fall.
Last year.
Yep.
Yes. So it was really cool to see it that way, and they probably wanted to do it because you got more light because there's no leaves in the trees. Plus all the leaves blowing around the car looked really cool. And 2 or 3, wherever I am, I'm 2 beers deep. The drone work, the video drone work is amazing now.
It was really good.
the guys that are doing this chase drone work, oh my god, it's so good.
Yeah, they're every bit
These
as
are
talented
camera
as Scott
angles.
Speed. Yeah.
These are camera angles you couldn't have imagined 5 years ago.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like coming up to the car, chasing the back of the car, then moving up and over the car. Like that is only stuff that they would have had to done in CGI in like a multi-million-dollar blockbuster.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's
Or maybe like 20 further feet away with a helicopter or something.
yeah.
Yeah. Even then, you wouldn't do like the flip upside down over the car. Like, it wouldn't have worked.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So cool.
Good stuff.
Like I don't know, like I enjoy the car because I'm into cars, but I'm also kind of a nerd about how films are made and watching, especially the way documentaries are made and camera work. So just seeing that, like, I appreciate it. So
All right. Well, we've spent
there is a
45
full
minutes.
in-car.
We spent
Yeah.
45 minutes
That's
talking
okay.
about stuff that's not Bradley related. And we got Bradley here patiently chomping at the bit.
We-
Hey,
We-
I'm just the
things.
third co-host this week. That's all good.
All right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's all good.
Well, we'll get into what Brad's been up to. So you were on, we talked about it back in February?
in February, and since February,
Yeah, go ahead. What have you been up to?
I have I got a new job, bought a new house, bought 3 cars and a motorcycle, sold a car. You know about that one because it went to Brad.
Yeah, the Brads are very similar here.
Yeah,
We both bought 4 new
Um,
vehicles this year
yeah, and
and sold one.
mine are probably just as broken.
Mine all right.
Yeah. Anyway, mine all run. They all have something wrong with them, but they all run.
Yeah, they're old cars. They all have something wrong with them. Is your live wire broken?
Yeah.
I don't think so.
No, the live wire is good.
The company's broken, but
yeah.
you're not. Yeah.
Yeah, no kidding. I saw they lost a bunch of money.
Yeah, their
Like,
investors are none too
news
happy
today.
right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. Ugh.
Well, let's start with car
Yeah,
number
so
one.
I'm-
Or job or house. I don't
Well,
care where you want to
let's start with the
Yeah.
job. Let's start with the job. Yeah,
That is important. And
So,
correlated,
yeah. So in February, I was a editor, the nighttime editor at Jalopnik, doing a bunch of work for Popular Science, and I still to this day run flat6s.com, a Porsche website. In May, I got a new job. I'm now the director of the Crawford Auto Aviation Museum. So I get to play with cars, like full-scale cars, and a lot of them every day. It's pretty great. We have a
I feel like
190
that
car
was
collection.
I feel like that was a dig. Full scale cars as opposed to us who play with toy cars all day.
No, it wasn't a dig. I've
kidding,
been
I'm
able to
kidding.
play with toys and with scale models for my entire life. Now I have a collection of 190 cars that I get to mess with,
That's pretty amazing.
which is pretty cool.
Andrew and I have both
Um,
been to the Crawford Museum because you guys hosted
Yes.
before you were there officially. You hosted a Radwood
Yes.
display, and Andrew and I went out there to
Yep.
visit the ghost of Camden Tubbed Cam and visit the museum as well and see the display that was there.
Yes.
So we did get to see a good number of the collection. I'm sure there's a lot of cars that were not on display also at the same time, but it was
Yes.
definitely a
So
very neat space.
Yeah, it's very cool. The whole building has kind of been redone since then. So a lot of things have moved around. The whole lower floor was gutted and refloored and painted and everything. So it's all new lighting.
Yeah,
It's gorgeous.
It definitely had a your best friend's basement, your best friend's parents' childhood basement feel before.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, and it was all asbestos tile and everything, so that all had to be abated and whatever. So I basically came in the middle of renovations, and there was a motorcycle exhibit going on, which is totally in my wheelhouse, no pun intended. And so, like, I kind of came in and everything was running full steam through the summer. We took a car to Pebble Beach. We won an award. I think I went like 13 or 14 weekends in a row where I was taking a car from the collection to a car show and, presenting it and being a representative for the museum and everything. So, like, this is really the first time that I've been able to sit down and take a breather since I started in May. And we have a new exhibit opening on November 17th, which is 11 days from now as we record this. So I've had to organize. This is my first exhibit that's actually like I'm in charge of it. So we have a 15-car Porsche exhibit coming in. So Brad, if you want to plug your ears and go, I don't know what a 964 or 993 is. That's,
Oh,
that's
come
fine.
on now. I'm good. I said before, I'm good up to 993. It's after 993 where
Okay.
I start to lose it.
Okay. Well, so the premise of this exhibit is in 1982, Porsche was going to kill off the 911. The sales were kind of in the tank. They had the 928 as the new flagship for the brand, and 911 was kind of just floating along until it died. So a new CEO was hired. He saw sales projections, and the line for the 911 ended in 1982. So he took a magic marker and continued the line off the edge of the sheet, across the wall, out the door, and down the hallway, on like writing on the wall with a pen. So he comes back, hands the pen back to the product manager, and says, "Do we understand each other?" And he says, "Yes." So that was like the saving of the 911. And the whole premise of this exhibit is this is what the world would have missed if the 911 had died in 1982. So here's all the history and why things went this way, and how we went from, the almost dead SC in 1982 through 996 turbo, makes 444 horsepower, all-wheel drive, twin turbocharged, all kinds of crazy stuff. So from 82 to 2005 is kind of where the exhibit runs. How did we go from this simple sports car that barely survives to a world-beating supercar? So come check it out. It runs all winter. It'll be fun.
I will try to get there myself, but definitely for anybody in the audience who's anywhere near Cleveland, Ohio, it's definitely a good take. Not only for this exhibit, but the rest of the museum. All the cars in there are amazing.
We've got a ton of stuff.
Is the AMX. The concept AMX.
It's a concept car, yeah.
Yeah, which I think is a
the
big car.
AMX. I think so. AMX Ramble Seat. So if you just look that up,
it's a very cool car.
Very interesting piece. We just finished restoration of a championship-winning Formula 5000 McLaren. That's going to be going on display. We've got a Mercedes 300 SL. We've got a Ferrari 365, coach-built by Pininfarina.
You also have one of my favorite car stories from childhood, the Allegheny?
Oh, the Allegheny Ludlam stainless steel.
Stainless steel, excuse me, not aluminum. Stainless steel Fords. Yeah. Those are very cool.
All the stainless cars are my favorite, actually.
Yep.
Yeah.
I really like those a lot.
That's pretty cool. It's a really cool story. They just wanted to prove that they could shape body panels in stainless, which is notoriously hard to work with.
I'd go out on a limb and I'd call it the Peterson of Cleveland.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
I mean, I don't know if there's much competition, but it's the Peterson.
There
of
isn't.
Cleveland, so
yeah, there isn't. But that's awesome.
As far as the East Coast, it's pretty good.
It's pretty up there. The East Coast has some heavy hitting car museums, and it's no
Simeon is probably the heaviest.
Yep, Simeon, the Newport. There's a couple of them, but it's
I went to the one in Newport. It's pretty. There's two in Newport. The Newport Car Museum is. So the thing that I have learned in the car museum business, there's Audrain and the Newport. Audrain is tiny. There's like 20 cars in it. It's a really cool location. It's really neat. It's really well curated. They had a Radwood display while I was there. They called it Young Timers, but very cool. The Newport Car Museum is further out of town, and it's much bigger, like square footage, and they have, 110 cars or something like that. So the thing that I've learned in the museum industry, and I'm actually on Tuesday, I'm flying to Naples, Florida for a automobile museum conference. So it's all very nerdy. But anyway, the thing that I've learned about the museum industry is most museums, well, some museums are like billionaires' collections that they've turned into a tax shelter.
Like the Simeon.
And like the Simeon, like Revs Institute, like any, there's one in Colorado, the Shelby Museum, that's just like a guy's collection of Shelbys and GT40s that he opened to the public for $5 or something like that. Then there are the kind of municipal, like they're all, they're 501c3s. They're all run by donation. Like, I mean, to an extent, the Peterson, they're very well funded by several well-to-do car enthusiasts in the area.
The Lars Anderson,
or like,
I think, is that in Boston.
Yeah. Or like the Audrain. I mean, they're supported by Jay Leno, among others. But and then you've got museums like ours that are kind of have been. I mean, our collection started in 1943, so we're one of the oldest car museums in the world, let alone, just in the U.S. So cars, when our museum started, were like just used cars.
Yeah, they're all 30 years old.
Yeah, right.
They were all 92 luminous. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, and not only that, they were 92 luminas that couldn't go on the highway. Like, they had no usefulness. They were garbage. So people were probably like, why would anybody keep a, 1904 white steam car? Or, we have a 1909 Simplex that was guaranteed to do 100 miles an hour, but it was an open top car, and like, who would actually do that? And there were no roads in 1909, and all of these things. So like, ours is run on donation, and it's run on. We had, when it started, Fred Crawford was a very wealthy guy. He ran Thompson Products, which became TRW. And so he was the president, and the museum actually started as the Thompson Auto album, which was at the Thompson headquarters, and it was his like little private collection that he opened to the public. He donated to the Historical Society the full collection when he retired in 1963, and he gave a substantial amount of money to go toward the upkeep of the cars, but that was 60 years ago almost. So the money that he gave then was worth a lot more then than it is now, and it's still a substantial amount, but it's like every year, especially with inflation and stuff, it's like it's getting a little bit less, and it's getting a little bit harder to cover our bills and all that kind of stuff. So that we do have to rely on the local community and public donations and state funding and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of museums that are like, they put their budget considerations totally last, and it doesn't matter, and they run they run huge exhibits, and they're allowed to do a lot of that stuff because they're funded by private funding and billionaires that just go, yeah, whatever, make it happen. And then there are several museums that I've been to that I know of that are I wouldn't say struggling, but they have to be much more cost conscious. So trying to put on big exhibits while keeping under a budget is like stress city, but it's a lot of fun. I get to do a lot of weird off the wall things that
I'm not gonna lie,
anyway.
it sounds almost like a dream job.
It's totally, I mean, if I look at my career history, it all kind of leads up to this, because I've got the marketing experience, I've got the event running experience, I've got interpersonal, I've got writing, I've got, all of these things that all lead up to it. So it's totally, when I got on board, I was like, oh yeah, this is exactly what I'm here for. This is totally what I'm here for. And I love doing it. It's great. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It's supposed to be the summer of bread.
So
Excellent. I'm super excited for you. I can't wait to get back to the museum. I have not done a cross-country drive since you've been in charge over there, so I haven't had a reason to yet. But on the next cross-country drive, you can bet your butt I'm going to be there. So
cool.
I need to
Yeah,
check it out for sure. Like I said, I encourage anybody.
And you have a
listening
place to
go there.
stay anytime.
Excellent.
So.
You heard that, all the audience? No, I'm kidding.
If I know you and you're cool, you've got a place to stay.
No, I'm thoroughly excited and interested in going to see it again. So I hope I can see that Porsche exhibit because that sounds cool. And
yeah,
I do have a. What if the 911 ended in '82? Think of how much more Porsche could have done with their engineering. Maybe it would have been a good thing.
Could they have?
Maybe.
Could they
Who
have?
knows? Let's stick to a steel handling rear engine car and make it as good as we can.
I will contend that without the 911, Porsche would have died.
It probably
for
would
sure.
have, yes.
I think that's the Cayenne, but sure.
No.
Well, no,
it's not the Cayenne.
Hold on.
The Boxster saved the company. Dang it.
Without the 911, we never would have had a Boxster to save the company.
Yep.
And without the Boxster, we never would have had a Cayenne to save the company again.
100%.
Yeah.
Well, no, Cayenne didn't save the company. It didn't.
Cayenne
allowed them
to build ridiculous stuff for super enthusiasts, I think.
I disagree.
Otherwise. Okay.
I disagree.
I will refer to your opinion on this because you are the Porsche guy. You're the guy setting up the Porsche exhibit. So I'm looking from the outside, and it seems like once Cayenne came out, that's when Porsche was like, oh, we're also going to build this ridiculous stuff. Because we have all
they built before the Cayenne existed, and when they were broke as hell, they built the 959, the 911 GT1, all this crazy stuff. They've always built crazy stuff.
Yeah, I guess.
And
there are just so many more rich people now that I see more of them now. I forget about it, I guess, maybe.
1,000%.
Yeah.
1,000%.
All you have to do is go to
There's way more rich people.
Porsches and Coffee at 4 till 4 and see. There's 13 different one-of-one Porsches here. Like, how? How is this a thing?
It's Porsches are an old money and a new money car.
Yep.
Yeah,
I think Lamborghinis are all new money. Porsche gets both.
Yeah.
Yes. But I will say, Cayenne definitely grew the company. It's half the company's sales right now is Cayenne. Not quite. But between Cayenne and Macan is like 65%, I think, of global sales. So that's tons. They build way more SUVs than they do sports cars. 100%.
So does Lamborghini. So.
But prior to when the Cayenne came out in 2003, Boxster was the best-selling car Porsche had ever sold in history. Yes. It was $40,000 in 1997. They minted money on that car.
Sure.
And just the research that I've done, in 1993, a 911 took like 160 man hours to build. And in 1997, a Boxster took 30. So they were like way more profitable. They were cranking them out. And now a Cayenne takes like 6. That's
insane. What's crazy to me about a $40,000 car in 97, a lot of cars cost $40,000 in 97 that weren't as good as a Boxster.
100%.
So,
yeah.
I mean, the window sticker on my old Saab 9000 was $38,000. A new Toyota Super Turbo was almost 60 by 97. A 3000 GT, 300 ZX, they were all at the end of their run or towards the end of their run, and they were all 50, 60 grand. So you could buy that Boxster for $40,000, and it had that reputation amongst the uppity jerks that it was the secretary car or whatever, or why not just buy a Miata? But obviously, it was a better car than any of those, and it was a heck of a bargain at $40,000. So I can see how that could definitely be considered saving the company for sure. The funny thing is, they sold so many of them that the bottom fell out, and they were like $5,000 for a while, but nonetheless,
totally.
At $40,000, that was a heck of a car.
996 was the same problem because it was so well done. and because it was so cheap, they sold them. I mean, they just printed money on those things. They just moved them like units. And that was the same, for a long time, you could get one for 10 grand, 12 grand.
Yeah.
And they've started to go back up again, but they're, yeah.
When I think of Porsches in general, I tend to think that the last, maybe 15 years, but definitely the last 10 years have seen like a super surge in popularity with the cars. Obviously, we all talk about the Porsche bubble and how, a good air-cooled 911, doesn't matter what it is going to be 70 grand minimum. There's nothing under that, and that's for an automatic Targa. Like, there's nothing that costs less than that. Like, it doesn't even matter anymore. And it just seems like it's all related to their marketing and their amount of cars on the road that were new. So, once you had the Boxer, that started it, and then the Cayman came out, and that helped it. But you also had the Cayenne and the Macan, and there was just the brand image in the past 15 years has grown immensely, which is the reason that the Porsche hate is because of the popularity. At the end of the day, I know I am not proud of it, but I'm a bit of an automotive hipster, and it makes me upset sometimes when things that I'm like, oh, this is cool, become like the new hot popular thing. And I always love old 911s and Boxsters, and I just don't want to pay the money for them anymore. So, I mean, there were years where I was like, I'm going to buy a 912 and I'm going to buy a 200 horsepower scat motor for Volkswagen and make a hot rod out of it. Because the whole project would have cost 10 grand. But nowadays that's not even a thought anymore, because even a good 60s 912 is 60 grand. It doesn't make any sense.
Yep.
So it's that whole
I was
looking.
I was looking at 912s because it was the last long hood that was affordable.
Yep.
And I couldn't quite stretch to like 12 grand when they jumped from like 8 to 12.
Yep.
And so I had saved 8 and I went to go buy one, and then they were all of a sudden they were 12.
Sure.
And I was like, oh man, well, I can't afford it. Well, I guess I'll buy a Boxster. So I bought a Boxster for $7,500.
Yeah.
But if I had stretched to that 12 grand, it would be a $70,000 car now.
Unless you cut the roof off and left it in your garage at the Boxster.
Yeah, sure, right. Well, I mean, that Boxster's never going to be worth anything. The thing about that Boxster, it was really nice until somebody ripped the front end of it off with their dually.
Right.
So and then the insurance company cut me a check for what I paid for the whole car. So I was like, free car. Do whatever I want.
I do whatever I want with it. Yeah, I think longtime listeners will remember that my biggest automotive regret story was not coming up with the extra $2 grand for a 75 911 in like 2008. It was. I wanted to pay the guy 8, he wanted 10, and it was just too much for a car that currently wasn't running. Would I have ever done anything with it? Maybe not. Maybe it would have sat in my yard like my Galant VR4 did for a decade. Yeah. But
appreciated it.
But it would have appreciated 5 times what I paid for it, Unlike the Galant, which I just sold, that we talked about, and I lost money on. But it is what it is, So
yeah,
life goes on, and you never. I guess you never really can know what's going to happen. So, anyway, off of Porsche talk. What's next? What did you buy since we last talked to you? Let's get to the fun
Porsche.
Stuff. Porsche, yeah.
God damn it.
Speaking of 996s.
Let's go in order. What was the first car you bought since last February when you were on? I think it was actually a Nissan.
I think the Figaro, yeah. We bought a Nissan Figaro, 1990 Nissan Figaro. It was a car that I had tried to get my wife to buy because she texted me one day and she was in the Starbucks line and there were 2 convertibles in front of her. And she's like, oh my God, the weather's perfect. I should have a convertible. I was like, you should have a convertible. Let's fix that. So I kept sending her stuff that we should buy. And one of them was a Figaro. And she's like, I like this, but it's the wrong color. And so we were just kind of like...
Thankfully, they make more than one.
Yeah. Actually... You're wrong. We just talked about this, how we forgot about it. The first car that we bought since the last time I was on the show was the Cadillac Alante. Because I tried to get her to buy a Figaro. She said it was the wrong color. And then I mentioned it on Twitter and somebody said, oh, this guy's selling an Alante, one of my mutual friends on Twitter. And I was like, I've always wanted an Alante. Let's try this. So I sent him a message. He gave me a cheap price. We flew into South Carolina, picked it up, and drove it back. It broke a quarter of a mile from the driveway.
Convenient place to break.
And I have not driven it since. And that was 5 months ago. The thing that I think is wrong with it is that a baffle collapsed in the exhaust, and it's just like, too muffled, over muffled. Sure.
Too much
and no air will go through. So it runs like crap, and I need a new muffler for it.
But
I thought it was a collapsed cat.
Is a good ride.
Yeah.
So.
Yes. I thought it was a collapsed cat. It was not. So I replaced the cat, and that didn't fix it. So now I need to get into the muffler and fix that. But I've got other projects and other things on my mind. Sure. So we go to Radwood in Cleveland, and there's a Figaro with a for sale sign on it on the corner. My wife sees it and goes, "I love this thing." I was like, "Well, you should test drive it and let me know." So she test drove it, loved it, we bought it. So we have that. Then I bought a Harley Livewire, which we mentioned earlier. I've always wanted one. Best bike I've ever ridden. So I bought that. And then most recently, a friend of ours, or a friend of mine, gave me a really, really good deal on a 996 Turbo that I could not turn down. So I flew out to San Francisco, picked it up, and drove it back home with middling to fair results. Well, the first day I got a nail in my tire, which was like just bad luck. So of course I was in Central California. It was a Saturday night at like 9:30, and of course Sunday no tire places are open. So I was like, oh god, I'm gonna be stranded. I found a guy who was selling a set of wheels on Facebook Marketplace with good tires on them. Well, bad tires, but tires. And so I bought those, put them on, finished the drive to my old house in Reno, where I had another set of Porsche wheels waiting. So I put those on and hit the road. And I brought a spare set of rear wheels with me in the back seat. I was like, just in case I have anything go wrong, I'll have the spare for the front axle, and I'll have 2 rear tires for the rear. So I drove all day, did great, made it to middle of, like, just into Wyoming, over the border from Utah, and had a left rear blowout at 90 miles an hour around a corner. Like, there was a curve on the highway, left rear blows out, the whole car steps sideways. It, like, freaked me out. Pull off. Turns out the inside lip of the tire had just, like, worn through to shreds. So, like, I was like, oh god, there's a ton of camber and and toe on the rear. It's weird that it happened this time, but, like, the guy I bought it from did, like, 6 track days with the car and never changed the tires. So if I swap another set of tires on, it'll probably make it the rest of the way home. Everything will be fine. Put those tires on, went 100 miles, and they were worn down to nothing. So
really, really aggressive track alignment.
Very, very aggressive. Turns out it was 4 degrees negative camber.
Whoa.
And half a degree toe in the rear. So it was just scrubbing the inner sidewall of the tire. Just gone.
Yeah. Will that thing even roll if you put the clutch in, or just, like, stop? That seems like it's a very aggressive alignment.
So that's the thing, is, like, it never did anything weird when I was driving. Like, it always felt pretty planted, not too bad. And I was getting 28 miles to the gallon in a 575 horsepower car. I was like, oh, this seems normal. Like, but I guess it was just, like, barely riding on the edge of the tire and that was why I was getting good mileage.
So I guess the first question everybody had was, did you check the tires before you left? But you probably did. They just weren't warm.
I did, yeah. And it was, typical track wear. It was like,
Sure.
they weren't down to wear
Because
bars.
the first thing everybody said that, mutually knows us, I won't throw too many names out there until after the show, was basically like, how did he leave California to drive all the way across country and not look at the tires before he left? And I was like, I feel like he probably did.
Yeah.
But also, it is Brad, and sometimes he just throws caution to the wind and does things. So maybe he didn't, which I think was the same topic of conversation that had happened in that same conversation. So
yeah,
who knows?
I mean,
but you did look.
I did look. I looked at it. I looked at a lot of things. I mean, we didn't put it up on a lift or anything, but I did get down and look, and I felt the tires, and obviously the inner was worn a little more than the outer, but it wasn't down to wear bars, and I was like, oh, it's dry and clear, it'll be fine, and it was probably 1,000 miles ish on that set of tires before they blew. And I mean, I should have probably checked, 500 miles in or whatever, and I didn't, and it's just whatever. It is what it is.
In your defense, I bought the Porsche from you, and I didn't check the air pressure. And then when I did put air in the tires, I never checked them again either until I got home either. So, if everything seems fine, I guess it is fine, right? Because I did the same thing. So
anyway, I kind of limped it to the middle of Wyoming, with a variety of different tire methods that are not recommended. At one point, I had one of the fronts on the rear and the spare on the front. So my right side of the car was like a 4-inch wide wheel on the front and a 9-inch wide wheel on the rear. And on the other side, it was a 11-inch and a 9-inch. So it's like pulling and driving like crazy. And I just kind of limped it along the highway at 55, and every time a truck came up behind me, I would ditch for the exit ramp or for pull off to the shoulder or whatever. So it was frightening, but middle of the day in Wyoming, there's not that much traffic, so it wasn't too bad. And then a friend from Colorado came and picked me up with his flatbed and hauled me to a town in Colorado that had a Porsche service shop. And so I got a set of tires sent to them, had an alignment done, got it back literally like after they closed at like 5:30 that night. And then I drove from basically Denver to Cleveland without stopping. I was in the driver's seat from Denver to Cleveland, and I felt like death when I got here. But the car's here, runs great. It's the fastest thing I've ever owned. It's worth 20 grand more than I paid for it, and it's great.
Cool thing about the Porsche popularity now is that you were able to find a Porsche specialist in the middle of nowhere to fix your car to get you the rest of the way home. So there is some advantage there.
Yes.
There's no...
Well, it was a suburb of Denver. It wasn't
Still,
the
you were in the middle
nowhere,
of nowhere and were able
yes.
to find somebody with a flatbed who was willing and close enough to make it work. So
Yes.
that's the...
Yes. This is one of the benefits of building a large network of automotive enthusiasts.
Yeah, it's kind of the meme you see all the time on the internet. Like, hey, Mom, I made a new friend. Real or internet? Oh, internet.
Yes.
But in this case, your internet friends can become real friends because you meet them in these situations, which is how, other than Andrew and I, most of the people who we've had as guests in this podcast, we know because the internet. So we wouldn't know you if it wasn't for your podcast, and then eventually the internet, and eventually Radwood. So it all ties together.
So if I can plug, I would say Kyle from Out of Spec Studios, good dude. He makes good videos. Go check him out. They do all kinds of cool stuff.
Definitely okay to plug somebody like that, for sure.
Yeah. He helped me out and gave me a place to stay, which was really nice. lent me a car to use while my car
Wow.
was in the shop.
Yeah.
Dude was great.
Perfect.
Had a great time. So
I dig it.
yeah, so the car's here. I'm doing the typical dumb stuff that I always do to cars. Hopefully not ruining this one beyond the point that it's
Well,
no
the good
longer
news
worth
is the
anything.
car's not perfect,
Um,
so you can improve it. So,
Yes. It does need a little bit of work. It's cosmetically not great, but mechanically it's pretty good. It does have a recurring check engine light for an
That's
evap
probably
leak
needs
that
a
I
walnut
need to
blast.
Find.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I really hope not. But it does smell like gasoline when you get to like the bottom half of the tank, which is
Yeah,
weird.
usually it's when they're full, but that's okay.
Um,
That's strange.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I thought it was a gas cap. Replaced the gas cap.
So
that
isn't it
wasn't
like
So
it
I
was
need
an
to
all-wheel
figure
drive
that
car,
out.
but now it's rear-wheel drive? Is that what I understand? That's pretty common.
Yes. So it's fairly common, especially for track cars. They did it the wrong way. There's the way that people do it, which is just remove the drive shaft that connects the transaxle to the front diff. But that keeps 150 pounds on the nose and whatever. So the main reason you need to do that is for the traction control system to be able to read the ABS rings that are part of the axle shafts. So the right way to do it is I ordered basically there are like hubs that are the inner part of the axle that has the ABS ring on it without an axle attached to it. So then you can remove the diff, you can remove the axle shafts, you can actually do it the right way, and the computer still doesn't freak out about it, which is nice. And so yeah, it's got big turbos, big intercoolers, big fuel pump, injectors, a crazy tune, and does allegedly dyno proven 575 horsepower on pump gas at 1.6 bar, which is stout. 24, 25 psi.
So that's a lot of pressure.
So originally on
that's
on
lot.
California 91, so that's pretty good. So maybe a little more in Ohio on 93.
So on Ohio 93, it'll be even better.
And yeah, right. And I'm at sea level, so I would have been at sea level before, but
it's cool.
Yeah, it's quick. It's fun. Our friend Rick drove it yesterday, and he was like, "Yeah, it's pretty much as fast as my McLaren."
He has a McLaren, so that's a good a good measuring stick. Might not be as flashy as a McLaren, but it's definitely as fast as one.
No,
so very cool.
So it's got a couple dents and dings, and it has the front bumper needs repaint, and the interior is typical 996 trash. But I dig it. It's a lot of fun.
There's something to be said about a fun and ratty car. That's kind of the majority of everything I've ever bought. So, and then it gives you those small goals that are more easily achieved in minor cosmetic improvements versus major overhauling on vehicles. So I mean the big thing right now is it's got the wrong offset wheels because the wheels that I put on it are GT3 wheels, which are narrow body, so it sits in about 2 inches on either side. So I've got wheels. I ordered a bunch of parts from my friends at ECS Tuning. I still haven't given the car a bath. I put a Momo wheel in it. I need to figure out how to get the airbag light to go away. And I'll do a few little things. I want to do kind of like an OEM plus. We need to have an intervention where we teach you how fun it can be to clean and maintain paint. We'll get there someday.
Doubt it.
We'll get there someday. Or we won't, and we'll just let you keep ruining it.
Yeah.
And we can buy it cheap from you later because it's ruined.
That's right. That's what you should do.
No,
That's what you should
we
do.
need to give you the full how enjoyable it can be to clean a car, because when you're done, you're like, oh, that was impactful and enjoyable.
I mean, the thing is, once you get it to a certain point, it just stays there for the most part.
Yeah,
so.
and there's stuff that need. I mean, the hood doesn't match. It's a black hood on a silver car. I'm gonna have the whole thing once I get the bumper figured out.
It's kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't hate it, but once I get the bumper figured out, I'm gonna wrap the whole thing some weird Porsche color, and I'll do, I don't know, little touches here and there that make it pretty nice.
You should match it to the 912.
I thought about that, but if I'm gonna match it to the 912, then I need to match all of my other cars because that's how my brain works.
No, just the Porsches.
And then your Guy Fieri with all your yellow cars. What's a used bumper cost? Like, what if you just bought a bumper of a random color and put it in the front? Look kind of cool.
They're like $300. Not too bad. I guess it depends on the random color because most of them were silver, so it would be a different silver because that's a fairly rare.
Yeah. All right. Well, that would look weird.
Yeah. And then I would be like Magnus Walker or something, and I don't know if I want to be.
No, you're not. Listen, he doesn't own all of ratty cars. Like, it's not his thing.
No, he does the different color bumper thing.
Yeah,
I don't know.
whatever.
It's just like a
Whatever. We had a friend here that had a silver Miata and had a yellow front bumper on it, or a green front bumper. I don't remember, but it looked cool. So you could do something like that and it'd be fine.
the bumper itself isn't bad. It's just it got hit, so there's one like hole, and then all the paint flaked off. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna strip it down to just bare plastic, and then I'm gonna fill the hole and sand it down, and then wrap just the bare plastic. Because then,
So do just the front bumper in the same yellow as the 912.
so I think I'm gonna do the whole
this is the
car in Porsche Moonstone, which is like a pale purple color.
Okay.
There should be more purple cars.
Listen, there definitely should be more purple cars. I'm stoked that the new BMW M240 comes in a special purple color.
Yeah, I've seen one. It's awesome. Oh, it's so good.
It's like awesome.
Yeah.
I saw it this weekend. It was amazing.
very
I was like,
good.
is that factory? Yeah, it's so good. And the new RS6 wagon comes in purple, and there should definitely be more purple cars. No question. I was actually thinking the other day.
Yes. There's a 993. There's a 993 on Bring a Trailer right now that is purple interior, purple top, purple paint, and it's rad. Aside from the fact that it's a Tiptronic, it's rad.
Is that the same car that was on? I think it's the same car that was on my site.
Oh, really?
Autohunter,
Oh,
Yeah.
could be.
like a year ago.
Oh, well, if it was a year ago, it's probably like double the money then. Because they've
No,
gone...
I think you did an article for us on it on Flat Sixes.
I could have.
It was a triple purple 993 or was it 964? I don't remember now. Ugh, Porsche codes. I'm out. Conversation
Anyway.
over.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about
All right.
Porsches anymore. I love the Figaro. It's great. I recommend anybody who doesn't need to drive on the highway get a Figaro immediately because they're amazing.
Yeah, well, none of my cars are highway cars, so I get it.
Well, I do like 90s Nissans here, so.
Yeah, no
That's
kidding.
true. Trade for a Q45? No.
Q45 is pretty sweet. I drove it the other day.
It looks good. I think it belongs in Akron, Ohio.
Sure.
I'm sure he's listening and he knows I'm talking about him. But anyway.
It's got a little bit of rust anyway, so it's not perfect. You can drive it in the wintertime.
Yeah. He needs a good winter. Oh, no, he just got a cross cabriolet for the winter. But anyway.
Nothing like buying a convertible for Ohio winters.
Hey, you know what? Yeah. So speaking of, we've started, if you're in the Akron area, if you're in the Cleveland area, we've started doing a Friday morning show called Valley Vibes, and I think we're going to run it through the winter. It's just like a casual, low-key meetup. It's been a lot of fun. We've had some really cool stuff out there. There's a new NSX that showed up on Friday, all the way down to the normal enthusiast cars like a
Nissan Figaro.
C4 Corvette or a Chrysler. What was that? What was the RT sedan in the 90s?
Dodge Spirit.
Spirit, yes. It was not an RT, but there was a Spirit. That was cool. It was a V6 car. Really neat.
Yeah,
Really
no,
well
it looks like a cool time. It looks very similar to the Auto Off Topic Ford Noon Cup. So it's a very similar concept. It seems to be an idea that's kind of kicking off all over the country. These smaller gatherings of like-minded enthusiasts, just kind of getting rid of the whole big group vibe and keeping it casual and keeping it with just people who get it, for lack of a better word.
Well, here's the. I went to a Cars and Coffee this morning. Of course, it was 80 degrees November here today, so everybody was there because it was the last one of the season. It's the one in Andover, and they have a small parking lot, and there was a lot of really, really cool stuff, but also a lot of junk.
Right.
And they didn't have enough parking.
But it's fine because first come, first serve. That's how it works.
But
If you don't get in, you don't get in. Have a nice day. See you next time. Yeah.
It is. But I was thinking about this because I was like, I don't know about Brad's idea of doing it weekly. But then I was like, no, that does kind of make sense because it doesn't make it, no offense, it doesn't make it as special. So you don't have an overcrowd once a month of people trying to get into
really,
it.
We only buy a dozen donuts and a carafe of coffee. It's not like we're buying, losing our shirt on donuts, every week. So it might grow, and I'm sure next summer it'll be bigger than 12 to 15 cars. We might get 30 cars or something. I don't know. But especially now when it's 40, 50 degrees out and people are hanging out in their winter coats with the lights on because last week it was before the time change and didn't get light till 8:30. But it's totally like you've got to be dedicated to it because you've got to show up at crack of dawn, and it's in the valley. It's 30 miles from really anything. There is cell reception, so it's not like it's the middle of nowhere, but it's kind of hard to get to, and that kind of weeds out anybody who's not really into it, If you're just going to show up to stunt, like, this isn't the place to do it.
Sure.
It's we don't really care what you drive. It's totally just a, come have a good, all we care that you bring is a good attitude. That's it.
Yep. That's the most important thing. That's what we discussed off air all the time about our, forenoon cup. And that's why it's sort of invite only at the moment, just because we don't want riffraff.
Well, I like the early morning, like early, because it gets it done early and it keeps. That's the problem. This one in Andover started at 9. People were rolling into the parking lot at 8 and filled it up. So now it's become. These are starting to become just cruise nights in the morning, where there's just people. There's just people sitting there in their chairs in front of their car, and they'll just sit there the entire time. I feel like it's supposed to be more of a casual. You come in, have your coffee.
I think the hard
walk around, talk to some of your friends, see some cars.
Yeah,
the hard rule should
out,
be,
and then some other people.
If you don't have a handicap placard, you can't bring a chair.
Like that's the way 4 till 4 is.
That's the rule. I don't want to exclude people who have to sit down for medical reasons, but if you don't have a handicap placard, you can't bring a chair.
Well, your car has chairs in it.
Yeah, but it's even weirder to sit in your car.
It's fine.
Yeah, I think if you have a medical reason you need to sit down, you're welcome to bring a chair. But listen, I'm trying to be, People with Disabilities Act here. I don't want it on my back.
Sure.
So we got that's our rule.
Sure. Listen, people want to enjoy things all different ways, and that's fine. Enjoy it the way you want to enjoy it. I just want to do it. Yeah, I want to do it a little differently. Like, I'm very casual about it. Like, I went for a little bit. I had my kid with me. We walked around. He keeps picking the Montero to go because that's what he likes. He didn't want to pick it. I was like, what car do you want to pick? Because they were all sitting outside yesterday. And he, of course, picked Dad truck.
You
I was
just
like,
need
all
to
right,
give him a
fine.
good pull in the
We'll take that because you want to take it.
Now I get it.
Yeah,
that's what needs to happen. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, maybe I should just put him in it and take him for a ride, but whatever. I'm glad I brought the truck because it was so packed. I just parked it on the street and I don't care about it. Like, you can't
The
really
rock
put a
sliders
ding
will
in it
destroy
because
your door. So
the rock sliders stick out from the. Yeah, it's really funny.
sure.
But anyway, I mean, enjoy the stuff the way you want to enjoy it.
I think that moving
It's to each their own, but it's kind of like
moving.
some
to
of these are getting a
Arizona
little
and
crazy.
seeing the difference in car culture on the West Coast versus the East Coast. I know I'm getting crap. Arizona's at the coast, whatever. It's close enough. Seeing a difference in car culture here versus there, and seeing these early morning gatherings that people show up at 5, 6 in the morning, and then you're done by 9. It really kind of opened my eyes to like, this is how we should enjoy this stuff. Like, get up, enjoy it. You know, if you want to take your car for a drive afterwards, great. If you want to just go home and do stuff with your family because you have kids and whatever, great. Go do that. Like, you know, I don't have any kids that live with me. My kid is now an adult, and Naomi's kids are adults. So we're, you know, all by ourselves and can do whatever we want. But we also have other things you want to do too. So it's like we can just go ahead and enjoy the day afterwards. Like, you want to do car stuff all day? Great. You don't want to? There's something you can do that starts at 6, 7, 8 in the morning at the latest, and you're done by lunchtime. So
yeah, we do 7 to 10, and we have a couple of different groups of people come in because the early risers or the people who arrive at 7 or 7:15 or whatever are usually people who have to work at 9. So like it's there's still time for you to go in the morning before work. You get your coffee, you get your donut, whatever, and then you head into work. And then there are the people who are like, you know, like me or like Myron or like, you know, either retired or they're creatives and they don't really work on a schedule, or they're, you know, they work during the night or they work from home or whatever. They can stay a little
prostitutes
later,
and drug dealers come in later.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
All right.
Lots of those in the Valley in Ohio. Yeah. Although, fentanyl.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've been to Ohio. seen some questionable people.
That's true. But this is a national park. We're in a national park, which is really cool.
Sure.
That's part of the appeal. We're probably the only car show, certainly the only car show in Ohio in a national park. Car meet, car gathering, whatever you want to call it. So
casual gathering of friends who all like cars.
Exactly. So when we're not dealing with the local cops trying to break up our rallies, we enjoy our cars and coffee kind of thing in a little parking lot in the national park, and it's nice. It's a good way to spend a Friday morning.
I wish I was closer. I'd be there if I didn't have to work at 8 o'clock, which seems to be always the way for me. So
sure.
Friday is also a good way to keep riffraff out because
totally.
You know,
it's another, like, you've got to be dedicated to it. You've got to be like, I want to be there. You can't just be casual, like show up and be a dickhead, you know?
I'm glad it's not more local to me because I'd be missing a lot of Fridays at work. Would not be good for my employment. So
I got COVID. I got to work from home.
Yeah, at least till noon. At least till noon.
Yeah.
Every Friday, it's
yes.
It's a new Friday variant of the COVID.
Anyway, excellent. Yeah, that's a good event if you're in the area. I've seen some pictures from it, and it looks like a good time. So
it is. What else is new? I've been doing a lot of stuff. Pebble Beach was awesome. Took a car at Pebble Beach, came home with a trophy. That felt weird.
Excellent.
And fun.
We're gonna need to hook you up with my dad so you can get a car to the concourse north of Boston too.
Sure.
So yeah.
Misty
Mistlewood Concord Elegance. I'm sure they'd love to have something from your collection with whatever you'd want to bring out for sure.
So they just had their 10th anniversary last year, Andrew. I think.
Oh, cool.
They
Nice.
do tour. They
Yeah.
do tours at Pebble Beach.
And they do a
The
tour.
location actually, if you didn't know where it was, some of the pictures in the ocean you could think were Pebble Beach actually. So
Nice.
it's a good event. I'll send you some info and maybe you guys can take a car out there because Boston isn't that far of a ride from Ohio, so it's less logistics than Pebble Beach, that's for sure.
Oh, 100%.
So,
yeah.
Yeah,
If it's
I know
something
they have
I can
cars that-
haul myself,
Yeah.
then I could totally do that. Yeah.
Yeah, they have. I know they have a good relationship with. I don't know if you're familiar with the Owl's Head Museum in Maine.
I am. Yeah. I've never been, but I've
they
heard
bring-
very good things.
They bring car down every year, and some other places
Cool.
do too. So it's definitely a neat event. So they'd love to have more representation, and they're trying to be they're definitely the premier concourse north of Greenwich. So it's hopefully they can become even more and more from here. But it's definitely a good event. So, and I didn't make it this year, but I do try to get out there. So it'd be cool to get you to bring a car there, and we can hang out there. So
yeah.
I do want to call back to my SEMA trip real fast. I did forget one important detail. I got to go to the Shelby American factory and their factory.
That looked cool. I had another friend at that event.
Yeah, we got an invite to that. It's like a SEMA after party on, I think it was Tuesday or Thursday night or Wednesday night. And it was really neat because, all the Shelby history is in this one building, and it's just awe-inspiring to see some of its history. And the factory where they build all of the Mustangs now is in the back, and it was all open to kind of turn around and to walk around and check out. So it was a very, very cool event.
Rad. All right, cool. I don't know what happened to Brad. He got booted again, apparently. So I guess we'll wrap this up.
The dogs ate the Wi-Fi.
I guess they did. So, Bradley, where can people find you?
I am on the internet everywhere. Plug in Hi Brad on Instagram, at BC Brownell on Twitter for as long as that lasts. And please follow the museum. We've got Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all the things. The Crawford Auto Aviation Museum. Just search for it, you'll find it.
Cool.
Yeah. Also, Autopia is coming up.
Oh, right.
I don't know if any of you guys are electric car fans, but Autopia, December 4th at the Peterson Museum in the parking deck. So bring anything powered by electrons. It'll be fun.
Cool. So I don't know if Brad is, I think Brad's trying to get back on, but he is TSI SS350 on Instagram.
Tisa's Thrifty.
Tisa's Thrifty. There he is. So also our podcast, On Off Topic Podcast on Facebook for as long as that lasts, I guess. On Off Topic on Instagram. We're definitely more active there. Brad's had some SEMA pictures. We've got Scale Autocast on there. We're a little bit behind on posting some Scale Auto stuff, but I know we've gotten a bunch of new models in. There's that. You can follow me, Erased in Anger on Instagram, Erased in Anger on Twitter, and a couple other places like that for now. And yeah, I think that's it, right? We got everything?
That's it.
All right, cool. Oh, yeah.
I did.
Yes,
you
you did.
missed that.
Of course, Discord. Come join us on Discord. If you're listening to this, you are invited. Just message us and we'll send you the link. The Discord is growing. We've got maybe 20 people in there. And it's mostly me complaining about my Volkswagen, but
I can say I am a happy customer.
No, it's not. There's a lot of content.
There's a lot of content on there.
I love the Discord. I'm a big fan of the Discord.
I recently added a motorcycle channel for everybody that rides.
There's a lot of good content out there for sure.
And I just keep posting. I think you should leave screen grabs about motorcycles. So there's that. And yeah, as always, keep cars analog and aim for the roses.